Hey there, it's Lisa Chell with Modern Vegan Family, and you are in Chell's Kitchen, where it is Sunday morning and we are doing all things pancakes. In fact, best ever pancakes. When I was in grade 9, I was on student council, and one time we had a pancake fundraiser, and I was the only one in the kitchen making batter for hundreds of people. So that pancake recipe got ingrained in my brain, and since then pancakes have been one of my favorite things. My kids love them, and I think I've kind of been known as the pancake whisperer. Well, when we became vegan, it took me a little bit of trial and error to get that same feel for the best ever pancakes and the same level of fluffiness, but I've pretty much nailed it, and I'm going to share it with you so that you can make some amazing vegan pancakes. So here we go. Alright, so to make the pancake batter, this is going to feed 2 very hungry people, or maybe 3 lighter eaters. It's going to be 3/4 cup of, and I use all organics where possible, so this is organic white flour. Now for those of you who are gluten-free, I'm going to give you a gluten-free option in a second, okay? So one of the tricks to make this the best ever pancake is, on top of that 3/4 of white flour, I use a heaping tablespoon of organic light sprouted buckwheat flour, or could just be light buckwheat flour. Now the buckwheat adds an amazing taste. On a gluten-free note, if you are gluten-free, use 1 cup of just the light buckwheat flour or light sprouted buckwheat flour, only buckwheat flour. But this is going to be a bit of a mixed recipe. Okay, so the next thing is 1 nice rounded tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of good quality salt, a nice rounded tablespoon, and I use organic coconut palm sugar, sugar of choice, sweetener of choice for you, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I mix all of that up. That's your dry ingredients. And then we make the wet ingredients. I'm using 1.25 cups of organic non-GMO soy milk, and to that I'm adding 2 level tablespoons of ground chia seeds. So it looks like that, and this is your egg equivalent. So chia makes a great egg replacer, and I put that in there and I mix it right away so that the chia doesn't clump. So yes, it adds a little bit of, there's a little bit of a seed look in there, but that's okay. It's going to thicken this milk, and it's going to add your eggy consistency. To that I add a teaspoon of pure vanilla and a tablespoon of melted coconut oil. That's my liquid ingredients. And it usually only takes about 30 seconds to a minute for the chia seed to start really thickening this milk. Now if you were doing the gluten-free option that just has the buckwheat flour, into your liquid ingredients you would add a teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar. Okay, so the vinegar is going to help with the rising, to keep it a little bit fluffier, because you're using much more dense ingredients with no gluten. So I've got my pan heating here. I like to use a cast iron pan. I always season it in between, and so that leaves a little bit of a coconut oil residue on it. It's been warming a little already. I'm going to turn the heat up. You want to have a fairly nice hot pan, not on high heat, but somewhere between high and medium. If you want to use non-stick, go ahead, use that too. So this is trying to get more back to natural everything in my kitchen, and so I've been using the cast iron pan again. So let's mix the wet ingredients into the dry while my pan is getting to be the right temperature. Now, of course, when I'm making this, I've got this recipe so ingrained in my body. I never measure everything. Everything is by look. So I can see that the dough is a little bit thick. So I'm going to grab and add probably an extra 1/4 cup of milk. Just a dash there. And this is always the thing with cooking, is that use some common sense. If you make the recipe and you look at it and go, oh, that doesn't look like quite enough, then adjust it. You want the dough to be the right consistency to go in a spoon and make the pancake, but not so dry that it doesn't pour, and not so liquidy that it's runny. So you can see this consistency is a nice one for pancake dough, and my pan has got some steam coming off of it. It's just right and hot and ready to go. So I'm only going to make you one pancake today to kind of show you I'm all about the flavor and not so much about the presentation, so this is going to be kind of a bit of a sloppy pancake, but that's okay. This pan is really hot, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. Now, most of you have made pancakes before, but when I'm teaching my kids, I always taught them, you want to see the pancake getting bubbles all through the middle of the batter, and the outside of the pancake looks like it's kind of dry, so that when you flip it over, you're just cooking that last little bit on the bottom side. So it's just going to take a few seconds here. So as you can see, the pancake, you can see some of the bubbles here. You can see a little bit of dryness, which means, and there's some dryness on the edge, which it's ready to flip. Look at that beautiful brown. Believe it or not, sometimes it's really tempting to play with your pancake in here. I've had to teach my husband and my kids, do not play with the pancake once you flipped it over. Look at how beautifully it's rising and how fluffy. So this is where it's tempting to sometimes be moving it around or smacking it around or peeking underneath. Do not do that, because you're going to ruin the fluffiness of your pancake. So it's going to have the perfect consistency. It's the perfect brown right now. All right, so our pancake's ready to come off. Beautiful, nice brown. Might not look as fancy as in some Instagram photos, but trust me, it's delicious. It's light and fluffy. And so this one, I'm going to use a little bit of, just for a treat, a little bit of this homemade vegan Nutella that I made. I just made a fresh batch the other day, and you'll find the recipe for that on one of my videos on the channel. I'm going to put a little bit of, well, maybe we'll start with the berries. Have some mixed berries here. That's beautiful. And then some pure maple syrup, and look at that. Beautiful pancake. I'll pull it in for a little taste test. Do I have chocolate on my lips? Probably. Super light and fluffy. In fact, that's one of the things when I post pictures of my pancakes on Instagram, people can always see how fluffy they are. So this is the recipe. This is my go-to. You're gonna love it. If you're not experienced using a cast iron pan and you're not sure, you might need to either look up on how to season and oil it for pancakes, or just stick with a non-stick pan until you get really good at this recipe. So have fun with it. It's really delicious. Come back to Modern Vegan Family. Please subscribe to the channel. Peace, love, and plants.